Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this month's Wealthy Retailer webinar series. This month, we're going to walk through the Retailer Health Assessment, which is going to give you the ability to sort of grade and score yourself in 5 of the key areas of your business. And as we sort of walk through this, I'll start very quickly with just who we are, Canadian Retail Solutions. We've been around for a little while. We're going since 1991, providing retail software and planning or open to buy, empowering retailers in Canada and around the world. At our core, we truly believe in having these real and relevant connected relationships with our retailers, with our ultimate goal, to help our retailers be better. And I'll say that, in all of our strategic planning sessions, we recognize, this is why we exist, to help our retail community. And so Scott Smith is on the line with us this morning. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone.
And so Scott, for 30 years has been, this lifelong friend to retail. He's worked in everything from the sales floor to merchandising, to marketing, to operations, to training and technology with some of the most successful retailers in North America. And today he remains this friend, partner, mentor, coach with all of these retailers around the world and empowering these retailers, to truly take their business to the next level. And I'll say that was, why Scott and I created this program, when we did. This was about how do we help our retail community sort of move to that next level. So really, really excited to have Scott on our team, and Scott will walk us through, this assessment that we're going to look at today.
Thank you very much, Dan. It's awesome. And then on Dan's side as well, folks, for those of you that haven't kind of participated in these webinar sessions before, Dan's philosophy that I love and that he's lived by is service above self. And I think that that's something that's always attracted me to how he runs his businesses and how much he's helped retailers as well. Dan as well, he's owned retail businesses probably since he was a kid, pretty much. And just been an incredible mentor for so many people in the industry. So, and as he said, like we wanted to put something together purely in service, purely so you could look at your business in an objective way. It's really important for us to often stand above at that 10,000 feet mark and be able to say, hey, what am I doing? The other thing that with this program is that it gives you the ability to kind of understand what other retailers are doing in their businesses, and understanding what they will, and how they benchmark and run their businesses and in those key areas.
Yeah, what a great segue, and how they manage their business. And I'll tell you that, while we wholeheartedly believe in our core values and our core focus, it's very important that we have a fundamental foundation. And so, for Scott and I, it has always been this fundamental foundation of retail wealth. And you're going to find and hear from Scott, both Scott and I love acronyms, and that's truly what wealth is for us. Wealth is an acronym. It's how we operate. It's our desire. It's our aspiration to become wealthy in retail. And wealth in retail doesn't mean cash. It doesn't mean riches. A wealthy retailer is one that practices these strategies to become wealthy, winning. And I joke that it's not the Charlie Sheen winning. It's that we believe and practice that we, a win-win-win environment, that we create this winning, a win for your customer, a win for your vendor, and of course, a win for you. We believe that we have to be energized, that the energy in our stores and in our businesses is what excites our customers. We know we have to be admired by our peers, admired by our team, admired by our customers. We have to be lean in inventory, lean in expense, lean in presentation, lean giving us the ability to be nimble and to be able to shift with the marketplace. Tenacious, we have to treat setbacks as anomalies, that those fails that we recognize every day are falling up, failing up, that we get up and we keep charging forward towards our vision. And most importantly, we have to be happy. We recognize that happiness comes from where we are today, not where we're headed. That we find success based on the happiness that we have in our business and in our life and with our teams today. And so, through everything we do, we practice this philosophy of wealth: winning, admired, energized, lean, tenacious, and happy. And that is how we move the needle north. We start with this, great foundation. And so, Scott, can you, let's walk through these steps and how we'll assess ourselves through this process this morning.
Absolutely, thanks, Dan. So just kind of a little on a little housekeeping side. First of all, there is a question panel that on your webinar, GoToWebinar panel. So if you've got any questions you want to fire in, Dan's going to keep an eye on those for us, and we can kind of try to relay them in. But just to give you some context on this program that we put together, we wanted to highlight 5 areas, significant areas, that you can gauge and measure your business by, and measure yourselves. This is your opportunity to be honest with yourself. And what we do here, and if you've got a piece of paper, and we'll absolutely get this presentation to you. I know Dan's recording it as well, so you can take your time and move through it. But think of this as something as a self-assessment. Grade yourself from 1 to 5. 1 being I have no clue at all. 5 being I've got that one right on, under my belt, and use it as a real, no one else has to see your score. You can absolutely, do this in a private way, but be honest with yourselves, because I think it's really an important thing to be objective in our businesses, for sure. So the first area that we're going to look at, the first focus, is customer relationship management. So what we want you to do here is think about these key points. Now, the first point is, and so we're going to make these statements. We're going to make these statements, and we want you to think about, how relevant, how, where is my focus? My staff are happy and motivated to deliver my vision. And you notice this was a segue from the wealthy, the wealth concept again here as well. And we talk about happiness. We talk about motivation. Like how, honestly, how happy are your staff? Are they getting in there? Are they smiling? Are they enthusiastic? Are they being driven by your vision? And of course, you've got to have a vision. You've got to have a vision for your business, and you've got to articulate that vision to your team. It's very important to be able to do that. So, have you built a vision statement for your business? Do you understand why you're there? And most importantly, are your team on board? Are they with you? And are they focused on that? And are they coming in with that same kind of energy that you have? I have an effective customer loyalty program. And I think the most important word here, because we see so many different programs that people try. You guys are probably overwhelmed even with the ones you see out in the market these days. Everybody's trying to grab your loyalty dollars. Everyone's trying to give you some kind of card or some kind of program to keep you in there. But the word here is effective for your business. Whether it be something that's really technical that you might run in conjunction with your web business, or something that you may use, in conjunction with a piece of software or hardware in your business. Really the word here is: are you doing something that is real and relevant and important and makes sense for your customer? And it might be as simple as a coffee card. It might be something that you check off every time someone comes in and makes a transaction, that they go through the coffee card box themselves. It might be that easy, but the most important thing is it relevant and effective for your customer? I see my vendors on a regular basis. Okay, and it's tough. We're busy, right? Like we're all the time. We've got our heads down and we're putting out fires. And sometimes we think, we can just get our orders in. We can just go back and forward through the catalogs. We can do things as quickly and as efficiently as we need to. But there's an importance to seeing our vendors. to being face to face with them, to having conversations on a regular basis, because it is a relationship. Remember, Dan mentioned, winning. Again, winning being a win for the customer, a win for ourselves, and a win for the vendor. So you're only going to build these winning relationships if you actually have them. I always find that the best reps that I ever interact with are the ones that make a point of coming to see me, of coming to connect with me on a regular basis. So, is that something that you do? I have a CRM module within or tied to my point of sale activity. So CRM, this phrase, the customer relationship management. So, I've talked to many retailers over the years, and you can really tell those that have this passion for their customer, and that extends into the information that they keep and maintain on their customer. And many of these point of sale systems have incredibly good ways for you to be able to keep that information at your fingertips. CRM basically meaning, are you tying in their sales activity to that person, to that person that comes into the store? Do you know them? Do you have their name, not only their name and details, but even, some cases, some great examples I've heard where people will, like in, I always love the pet store examples where, obviously, the pet, you know the type of pet, the treats that they eat. You've got all of this detail. I've even got one client I remember that has like all of the details of when his particular customer takes holidays and what holiday they did last, so he can come back in and at his fingertips are like, hey, how was your holiday to Bermuda? Like that really there is great ways that you can maintain it, and especially when we have this technology that ties in the transaction, that makes us able to see, how is that pair of jeans? How's it doing? And are you enjoying that purchase? And, what can I do for you in the future to make it any better? Knowing your customer, most importantly. I love the analogy. We've got many clients that we work with really closely that they speak of their clients, like as in my ladies or my gentlemen or the kids that I work with. They know and understand who they are, and they almost speak to them like they're a friend when they're talking about their customers, because they've intimately understand who that customer is. And you obviously you do that by maintaining and measuring and keeping information at your fingertips and connecting directly with those people and being able to kind of come back to them and understand where they are and what they do. So customer relationship management is key. Take a look at those 5 areas and really rate yourself again from 1 to 5. How strong a priority is the relationship of that I have to my customer. Okay, so the next focus is marketing. And a lot to be said in this area, absolutely. A lot to be said, and it's a very challenging area. But let's look at the first point. So again, leading off the customer side, I know and understand my customer, geo, demo, and psychographic. Okay, so I know where they live, where they come from, their demographic, how old they are, what generational group they're in. Most often, I understand that, and then the psychographics is that the kind of what they do, what their activities are, what they tend to like, like what where is their mindset in terms of what do they believe in, their belief system. That it's very important to understand the graphics of your customer. I know how to speak to my customer. This is a really important one, because you think about your staff, and I'm sure you could all relate to examples where you've had a staff member in your team that is not necessarily the demographic or understands those key features that we just talked about in the first point, and it's challenging for them to speak to the customer. It's challenging for them to be able to have a dialogue with the customer. You've got to know who you're speaking to, and you've got to speak their language. I think that it's very important to be in the zone, be in that zone on the sales floor with your customer. When I say the zone, I'm talking about understanding that geo, demo, and psychographic, and making sure that you're within that same realm. Now, it's always challenging. We're always struggling with that in terms of who we are. But then when we actually can translate this to our social media campaigns, like whether our Instagram campaigns and our Facebook campaigns, that we're actually speaking that same language. We're relating directly. I have a predetermined marketing budget. You'll hear us talk a lot about budgets. You'll hear us talk a lot about being deliberate about what we do. And a budget is being deliberate. So do we understand that balance between what we're spending on our expenses on things like rent versus what we're spending on our social media campaigns, our web points, our promotions in the store, our promotions outside of the store? Do we understand what balance we need? And we can certainly, offline, absolutely get in contact with us. We've got lots of benchmarks about, these type of areas, but being deliberate, having a budget, understanding why you need to spend money on your business in marketing and what level you need to spend to make sure that that's effective and efficient. I have a website that accurately represents my store and brand. Okay, so do you notice that we said website? We didn't necessarily say web store. Now, I'm not saying that, it's not an important thing to have a web store, but what we're saying here and what we're kind of rating ourselves on is having something that represents us accurately, represents our store and our brand. It's an extension of who you are. Your website is that, and you don't want to lose a client in the translation between what you've got as a representation online and what you're, the beautiful store that you have and that you want people to be attracted to. That website, it's critical that you've got that translation. Now, yes, it's one of the things that we know absolutely that 90% of our shoppers will pre-shop our stores before they come in. So that may mean for your business that you do need a web store, you do need to represent your product online, but it most importantly will mean that you're representing what the feel, what the vision, and what the culture is in your store by doing that on your website. I know how to use social media effectively. We'd always say, if you don't, then just grab one of your teenagers and they'll teach you how to do it. But, there's a lot more to it than that. As we know, it's incredible what we've seen, and especially, Dan and I have been doing this for a long, long time, as many of you might have as well. And we've seen this incredible evolution. We're seeing, stores and locations now that are driving business by social media, and absolutely becoming probably the main and most significant marketing tool in their businesses. So you have to know how to use these tools effectively and make sure that you're you're getting the attention that you need to get. So some really important key points with marketing for sure, and I think that it's a nice summary to really kind of give yourself, rate yourself, look at those 5 points as really key areas of driving your marketing strategy in the business. Okay, so our next section is selling. So let's have a look at our first point for selling. I have a selling system in place that delivers an equal and specified level of service to my clients. Now let's pick up on some of the keywords here as well. Okay, first of all, I've got a selling system. Okay, now I've seen so many stores that are, like that. I talk about this busy. We're always putting out fires, and a lot of times we forget if not the most important thing, to train our staff to a system, to have a consistency in the way we sell, something that will equate to the culture that you want to represent, but most importantly, will really make sure that your customer is given the utmost attention that they possibly can in the store. So it's a system. There is a system, and I believe that Dan's going to talk about at the end of this session more webinars that we'll have with regards to that selling system as well. But here's the other side of this. Deliver it equally with a specified level of service to my clients. So equally, and this is what I really always emphasize when we talk about this point, is that, we are only as good as our weakest link. And I know that's, I'll get that kind of sigh in the group from time to time, because we all know that there's always a weakest link. If we build and work to a system, we are way more likely to bring that level up and make sure that we have this standardized, nicely, across the average of the team, we're all at that higher level because we've taught them how to sell. I've had so many examples over the years where we've had people, you get in that new staff member that's shy, that hasn't really had the experience to learn. It's our jobs as managers and owners to make sure that we give them the tools and make sure that they have that specified and equivalent service, because we want every single customer to come into our store to have that base level of excellence, excellent service and understanding on the sales process. Okay, so my staff are passionate and knowledgeable about the products that we sell. Product knowledge, 101. But again, how often do we really make sure that with season over season, week over week, that are we getting that? And remember, we talked again about those relationships with vendors. What a great way to utilize that relationship. Often there's no one more passionate than the rep that you have with regards to a particular product that you're selling. Get them in there. Get them teaching your staff. Make sure that you're running regular sessions yourself. And one of the nice little things that I often use with many of the teams that I work with is share with each other your favorite things. Make sure you're always communicating. Always think that if I've got 6, 7 team members within a particular store on the sales floor, and they've got 5 of their favorite things, then I've got 35 or 40 stories that I can tell, because product knowledge is about it's about a feature and a benefit, but it's mostly about how I can relate the benefit to my customer for the product. Whether it's a super technical item, whether it's something that's just a really kind of gift item that doesn't have that much technical knowledge required. It's all about a story. Do we have stories built up amongst our team to be able to translate, and especially from yourselves as buyers and owners, that's being translated from you, that passion, that knowledge comes from you being on the floor with your staff, teaching them the stories for why you bought that product, why you were so enamored by it, why it was such an interesting thing for you. So my store has a well-defined traffic pattern. Okay, so how customers come in and out, and this goes to the idea of traffic counting as well. But when I say well-defined traffic pattern, it means that we understand the way that people move through our store. And I think I always think it's to me, it's a real next level point for a retailer when they understand, not only do they understand, placing something at the front of the store or right beside the counter is a really effective thing to do, but how do people move through my store? Have I created an environment that enhances every square inch of where that store is? Have I moved and strategically put my product in places that enhances the classes of merchandise that I sell and gives everything a fair shot? It's one thing to measure our business at an analytical and at a back end level with sell-throughs and performance, like we're going to talk about in a minute here. But have we really given everything a fair shot by knowing and defining how that traffic pattern works, and then taking that next level to make sure everything has been given that opportunity in those specific hotspots, or moving it around the store accordingly? So knowing that and defining how that moves is a really key part. I measure my store's sales performance. Measurement, measurement, measurement. You're going to hear us harp on that one like crazy. I know some of my retailers, when I start to talk about measurement, I get the rolled eyes from time to time as well. But it's really critical that you look at things like units per transaction. Okay, how many units? There's a significant difference in how we can move the needle in our stores, as Dan says, when we talk about the dynamic of and looking and measuring the dynamic of how many items we're getting in the store. Like between the last point, traffic, understanding traffic flow and understanding sales, then you start, when you're using a traffic counter, you start to talk about conversion, and you're measuring then how much, how effective is my ability to attract customers and to make a sale from the amount of people coming in versus how many tickets I'm actually closing on an hourly basis, or an hourly or a daily basis. So measuring my store's sales performance, and obviously that we talk about the selling process as well, measuring it through my staff, measuring it through my traffic, measuring it through my units per transaction. I meet with my team at least monthly to celebrate, educate, and motivate. I think we all recognize that there's way more to this game than there's way more to all of our lives than just, being handed a paycheck or getting a paycheck. And I think that I've noticed that, more so than in retail than any other area that I think I've ever focused on with businesses, is that, that our teams come in the day, they come in because, and they're focused to stay in a retail business because they love it, they enjoy the interaction, but most importantly, there's that team, that camaraderie, that they celebrate the existence of working together, the education side, as well as that they're going, you think about what motivates a staff member, teamwork, interaction. We want that we want that gratification of doing a good job. All of us want to know that we're doing a good job, but also too, they want to grow, right? Like it's we talk about this a lot. People, are significantly motivated by the fact that they're learning something, that they're doing something new, that they're bettering themselves on any given day, and that's incredibly important. And you can do that, like we said in this point, you can do that as simply with product knowledge. Especially when you're passionate about the things that you sell. An ultimate motivation, getting that team going, being all in the same team. I think that it's so critical for an owner and a buyer to represent that energy and to come out and to tell and to share with your staff the why. Why are we doing this? Why do we want? Why is this about? And the embedment of our clients. And so really, if you share those pieces and you celebrate those pieces together, they feel a level of ownership. Your team will be a team of owners, and that's always a very, very important thing in the sales process and in the culture of your organization. Okay, so the next area we're going to look at is retail technology. Retail technology, again, it's a tough one. It can be overwhelming, but it's critical. And the first point, and okay, this is where you get some bonus points. You got to get a 5 out of 5 out of this one, folks. I am using a POS system. Bare minimum, I'm using a POS system. We definitely want to make sure that you've got something in place. And then, but more so, am I using that POS system as more than a cash register? And I'll tell you, being in this game for many, many years, working on the point of sale systems for many, many years, as Dan will attest to as well, it's kind of scary how many people out there, how many retailers out there are literally just opening that till and putting money in, taking credit cards and not using that powerful beast of a POS system for more than just collecting dollars. There is so much more to a point of sale system. Measurement and the analytics will be the main reason, or it's the main factor for how you will be better than your competition. The more you're able to measure and analyze your business, and you do that through collecting. The POS system is an awesome collector of data. It certainly gives you a fantastic look at where you've been, and it helps you build decisions for where you're going to go. You really need to use it in that way. So, am I using my POS system for more than just putting that money in the till? Am I able to effectively evaluate my vendor, department, class, and SKU performance? Okay, so this is where we're taking it to the next level in our point of sale system. This is where we're looking at, okay, so can we filter things like, let's talk about like the key measurements that you want to be looking at. And it's really basic stuff when you think about it. What product how much do I sell? How much do I mark it down? What product did I bring in? How much have I got left? What kind of sell-throughs do I have? Am I turning my merchandise at a frequent enough rate? And this, filtering this by vendor, so you can see how my vendors rank. Really importantly, how the departments of my business work in the classes. So you absolutely want to make sure you have a very well-defined class structure, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. But so I can rank my business. And then at an item level, we want to understand our SKUs, our styles, and our performance so we can measure the business. All of this information you will gain from a solid point of sale system. I use my POS system to create, submit, track, and receive purchase orders. Okay. Very, very important. Often one of the, so when we first, come in and consult with our retailers and start to kind of coach them in the business, quite often we find that this is one of the most challenging areas. Think about, and so if I'm preaching to the choir, then you'll put your hand up and agree with me here. If I'm not, and it's an area that you're struggling with, think about how much you can improve your business if you are proactive and really creating purchase orders in advance, tracking them, understanding them, making sure they're accurate in advance. Gives you not only a vision into your business moving forward, it helps you budget, helps you understand what your cash flow is going to look like, but it also makes you prepared when the product comes in. You get it on the floor immediately, you make less mistakes. What we most often see is that the most inaccurate point of sale systems are the ones that don't track their purchase orders, don't submit them or build them well in advance of the product coming in, because chaos reigns when products being received. They desperately want it for the floor. How many times have you had that staff member that desperately wanted the product on the floor and thinking they're doing the right thing, went up and sold the product before it's been received because it wasn't on a purchase order? It's really, really important to your business that you're proactive about the purchase order process. Okay, and then finally, within retail technology, so this ties us back to this customer relationship management strategy. I use my POS system to manage my CRM. Okay, so and we just wanted to make a point here that, hey, that a good point of sale system has fantastic CRM tools. It has things that are called POS flags, customer flags. You can set up very easy checkpoints to be able to recognize characteristics of a client, and especially tying in their buying habits with that customer, with the ability that you can then look at email campaigns to specific habits of the client, whether they're buying or not buying in a certain category, that you can remind them, send them coupons, all of that kind of fun stuff as well. So there's a lot of, knowing that, demand that your POS system, that the one you use, also ties in your customer, because it's a very important part of the process. So that's the retail technology area. The next area, which is closest to our hearts, because it hopefully is closest to your heart, is making sure that you're flowing your cash and that you're profitable. So cash flow and profitability. Here's the first one, and this is a bold one. I pay my bills on time, every time. If we can say that about our businesses, then we know we're sleeping well at night. And, I pay my bills on time, every time. This is a sweet sound for sure. I measure and respond to my business by classification. Okay, classes as opposed to vendors. As opposed to just to the normal way that we often think, and really what I found over the years coming to retailers is that they that the natural focus is to focus on the vendor as opposed to focus on the classification. Now remember, vendors will come and go. You'll have your up times with vendors and you'll have your down times. They'll disappear. What will never really disappear will be a class of merchandise. When I say classes, if maybe we're in a ladies' boutique and we're talking about blouses versus pants versus jeans. If we're in a men's outdoor store, we could be talking about technical jackets versus skis versus canoes or whatever it might be. Like, you're basically looking at a class of merchandise, and what you'll find is that if you're responding to your business by classification, you're attending to a small business of its own. You're attending to a sales curve, to a habit, and understanding the way that moves, and you'll find that you can really move the needle in your profitability by knowing how your customer votes and what classes are really, really important to them, as opposed to vendors. When you think about it, when someone comes into a store, what are they really doing? Yeah, I'm looking for a shirt. Okay, I'm looking for, now it might be that I like Patagonia as an outdoor brand, and Patagonia is the brand in my mind when I'm walking in, but really fundamentally the want or the need that I have is for that shirt. and so the opportunity you have in your store is to sell them a shirt, whether it be Patagonia or North Face or whatever the brand might be. That is the power of understanding the classifications, because that is truly the way that we shop as consumers, by class. I buy and receive goods every month. Okay, that kind of sounds like it's like a pretty fundamental statement, but it's I buy and receive goods every month. You know, one of the things we talk about in planning is freshness factor. We talk about how fresh our merchandise. Our belief, our fundamental belief in a retail store is that the fresher your merchandise is, the more effective it is, the more you will reduce your markdowns, and most importantly, the more relevant you will be to your customer, and that you won't necessarily march them out the door to your competitors' stores because they will find what they're looking for. Now, how do you do that? Well, you only do that by making sure that you're buying and bringing in fresh goods every month. You know, like one of the biggest misnomers I think with retailers that Dan and I have worked with over the years is the fact that, I can only get this product, seasonally. It's one time or I miss out. And then I've got to lump in this great big order with the vendor and sit on it for 5 or 6 months or 4 months. Yeah, okay. There is cases like that. There is limitations from time to time, but it's not the be all and end all. And we've disproven that myth year over year over year. And our retailers buy and receive goods. They have open to buy every single month because their customers demand it. The customers come back because they know, hey, if I don't get it now, I may not see it again, but when I come in next week, I'm going to see something different, and I'm excited to do that. I understand CMROI, GMROI, inventory turn, and how they affect my cash. Okay, so this is a lot of acronyms again, but so really what we're talking about here is specific ways to measure some very, very good benchmark metrics in our business to understand how our cash is. And now I talk about that CMROI, cash margin return on investment. Cash margin return on investment is the calculation of the product that we receive during a period against how often we're turning that product. Now, you've probably heard more often of GMROI, which is the gross margin that we make from an item we sell over a period of time and how often we turn that. So the two of those things are a little bit different. And that's and it speaks to a story of cash. They're both very important. Like we say with GMROI, if that calculation is a 1, then you're keeping the lights on in the store. If it's a 2, then you're able to actually pay some vendors. And it's not until you get into that third dollar that you're actually making some money. Now, the difference between cash margin and gross margin is cash margin is based on the product we receive in a period of time, not necessarily on the gross margin that we made from an item that may have been sitting around for a significantly longer period. So, that's why we focus on these two calculations to be able to know not only how are we doing against gross margin, we're looking at how we're doing against the volume of product we bring in on any given day. And inventory turns, obviously, with turn, we're really talking about taking our sales over the year and we're dividing that by the average stock that we have on any given month. So we're seeing how many times do we physically move in and out of that product to be able to optimize the cash margin or the gross margin we're making from it. And what that boils down to is how much cash we're producing. How liquid are we? How fluid are we? Are we bringing it in? Are we selling it? And are we paying for it in that order, as opposed to bringing it in, paying for it, sweating bullets until we sell it? That's really what these measurements are all about in terms of understanding our cash flow. It's all about being able to sleep at night. My business is profitable and cash positive. Isn't that the bottom line of everything? So there's a difference. There's a difference between profitability and cash flow, and that's something that we really want to focus on and want you to understand that both of those things are very important. But I would even argue that cash positive cash flow is more important than profitability. Profitability can be something that you can look at on paper Profitability can be something that at the end of the year might be a nice thing to give yourself a pat on the back over. But what if you can't pay your bills month to month? What if the cash isn't there on a monthly basis? Like, how are you going to sleep? How are you going to be able to pay your staff? So really being cash flow positive, flowing merchandise in at the right time, with the right cadence, with the right amounts, ensures that not only that you're servicing the customer the right way, giving them what they need, but you're sleeping better at night because you've got cash in the bank. So there you go, folks. That's 5 areas, and as I said, Dan will have this record as well. But let's talk about our scores. Okay, so let's talk about like what this really means. And I think if we've really what we add it up. So go through this one, and you might I might have pushed this through a little quick for you, but add them up, and we'll talk about that in a minute, because what this really is all about is grading and being objective about your business to make sure that you're sustainable. And so this final point, and as we've got on the presentation here, the bonus points you get is that, am I sustainable? Think about your business in 5 years, in 10 years. At the cadence that you're at right now, am I going to be around? And you know what? It's a bonus point, because this is a conglomeration of doing many of those things we've talked about in the other 5 slides. Retail is really is a conglomeration of doing a lot of little things correctly. A lot of those things that we added up there, doing them correctly and pushing them to create a bigger picture. And that bigger picture means I'm going to be around tomorrow. I'm going to be around in 5 years. I'm going to be around in 10 years. We all know the statistics. We all understand how tough it is. But if we work our business in the correct way, it's not hard to beat those statistics in retail. It really isn't, if you work with the tools that are available, if you work smartly. You don't have to necessarily work like it's not about working hard necessarily, as much as we all do. It's about being strategic, being deliberate, and being smart about what you do. So is my business sustainable? So here's the scorecard. Let's check it out. At the first level, if we look at, say, a 0 to 4, or a 5 to 9, or a 10 to 14, hey, we're here. Pick up the phone, click on the links we've got on the website. We're always up for a conversation. We're always up for a chat. We absolutely love to talk to you. And bravo to you for being honest about your business, and rating yourself appropriately, because the first step to being a successful retailer and to building your business is recognizing that there's areas you need to improve. Okay, and then the second one, 15 to 19, great job. You keep digging, keep struggling, keep moving. You've obviously got a good handle on a number of these areas that we focus on, and that's a fantastic thing. And then finally, if you're ranking yourself through 20 to 25, then give us a call, because we think we might have a job for you, for sure. In all jest anyway, it's be honest and be transparent. Use these points to really to rate yourselves, and hopefully this is of value to you and can help you with your business.
And yeah, Scott, so accurate. And when we say, we are in jest, help is only a click away. The meaning there is that, there is help around you, and pick up the phone, send an email, something, and say, hey, can you give me a little bit more information on this, whatever it is. Please don't look at this as an opportunity, for us to sell you something. And this is an opportunity for us to help. And we're here. So please don't hesitate to click, to pick, to call, to text. And if you're in that middle zone, if you're in that 15 to 19, you are doing everything you need to do to keep digging, keep charging forward, keep looking at every area of the business, and ask yourself daily, what can I do today to improve my outlook for tomorrow, my positioning for tomorrow? And so
Awesome.
Thank you, for attending. As Scott said, these will all be recorded, and I'm going to send them out to you as the recording completes up and the video is finished. You can always visit back on the website, retailbycrs.com. To follow through on more. There's lots of videos there from all of the coaching team here at Canadian Retail Solutions, and absolutely would love your feedback on what you'd like to see in a webinar, on how you feel the webinars can help or not your business. And for me, it's important to let you know what's next. It is a series. In the next 3 months, we've got some great webinars coming up. Next month, we're going to talk a little bit about, how do we simplify open to buy? How does it impact my business, and what things can it help me with in better understanding my open to buy? On November 30th, we're going to do a full session on customer driven selling, and then KPIs as we get into the new year. We're going to give you December off to focus all of your energy in your stores. So thank you for joining us today. Again, I'll make sure that you get a copy of today's webinar that you can use. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Scott or myself.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate your time, for sure.
Have a great day, everyone.
Cheers.